Hey there, fellow history buffs and curious minds. Ever wondered how a humble steam engine ended up changing the course of human history? Buckle up, because today we're diving deep into the Industrial Revolution. That period when the world as we knew it got flipped on its head. Picture this, it's the 1700s and the world is running on wooden wheels, hand-spun textiles and horse-drawn carriages. Everything's slow, labor-intensive. And then, boom, out of nowhere, this thing called a steam engine enters the scene. And it doesn't just chug along quietly, it roars. Suddenly, we're talking about iron and steel taking over wood, coal fueling everything, and machines like the spinning jenny making production faster than ever before. This isn't just some new tech moment. No, this is a full-blown societal shift. We're talking about factories sprouting up, cities expanding like crazy, and people going from farming the fields to clocking in and out of work shifts. And it wasn't just Britain getting in on the action, this was a global domino effect. What started with Britain's textile mills and steam engines spread like wildfire across the world. By the time the 1830s and 1840s rolled around, the Industrial Revolution had hit full throttle. Factories were pumping out goods like never before, and with over 2,000 miles of canals built by 1815, these goods were moving faster than ever too. The revolution didn't stop in Britain though. It made its way across the pond to the US, where the first textile mill opened in Rhode Island in 1793. Imagine this, it's 1900 and the US is the #1 industrial superpower. That's how massive the impact was. But it wasn't all shiny and new. While economies were booming, there were growing pains too. Pollution, overcrowded cities and, oh yeah, pretty terrible working conditions. So how did this industrial explosion start? Was it magic? Nope. It was a perfect storm of new ideas, technological advances, and some good old human ambition. Let's start with the steam engine. Thomas Savery kicked things off in 1698, but it was James Watt who really turbocharged the whole operation. His improvements made steam engines more efficient and powerful, paving the way for massive growth in manufacturing, mining, and transportation. But it wasn't just about machines. People were on the move, leaving farms for cities, swelling the ranks of the middle class, who had disposable income to spend on all these new, mass-produced goods. Countries like the US capitalized on this by inventing more tech, like the cotton mill, and making production even faster. Capitalism was booming, governments were supporting local industries, and before you knew it, the whole world was being transformed by industry. If you think the iPhone was a big deal, you should have been around for the locomotive. Steam-powered locomotives revolutionized travel. People and goods were suddenly zooming from place to place at breakneck speed. And then there were the factories. Those assembly lines in America where workers were producing goods with factory precision by the thousands. Fast forward to the telegraph, radio, and newspapers. These new inventions meant that news could travel around the world in an instant. The pace of life was speeding up, and it was all thanks to these technological wonders. Now, let's talk about urbanization. How the Industrial Revolution didn't just change what people made, but also where and how they lived. In 1801, only about 20% of the UK's population lived in urban areas. Fast forward to 1851 and boom! Over 50% of the population had packed their bags and moved to the city. Urban life wasn't all glamorous though. Cities were cramped with thousands of people stuffed into tiny apartments called tenements. In New York City alone, over 80,000 tenements were housing 2.3 million people by 1900. Disease, overcrowding, and poor living conditions were rampant. But despite all this, people kept coming. Here's where things get really interesting. Enter modern capitalism. The Industrial Revolution didn't just change what people made, it changed how they made it. Factories were built, labor was divided, and suddenly businesses could crank out goods at lightning speed. The result? Capitalism exploded. Adam Smith's Wealth of Nations, published in 1776 by the way, laid the philosophical groundwork for this new economic system. His idea of the invisible hand guiding the market became the rallying cry for capitalist economies worldwide. The government started cutting tariffs and regulations, and the economy surged. But let's not forget, every silver lining has a dark cloud. Industrialization may have been great for profits, but it came at a heavy price. Air pollution from factories filled the skies, and rivers became toxic dumping grounds. Workers, including children, laboured in dangerous conditions for long hours and low pay. Meanwhile, the rich got richer, and the wealth gap widened. Even today, the top 1% of Americans hold nearly 35% of the nation's wealth. progress came with some serious consequences, and we're still grappling with them. The Industrial Revolution didn't end, it evolved. Today, we're in the middle of the fourth Industrial Revolution, or Industry 4.0. This revolution is all about artificial intelligence, robotics, and the Internet of Things, bringing tech to the forefront in ways we couldn't even imagine back in the steam engine days. These innovations are reshaping industries like manufacturing and healthcare, and the changes are happening fast. Factories are becoming smart, and robots are taking on tasks that once required human labor. But with all this progress comes a new set of challenges. Privacy concerns are mounting, and many are worried about the future of work. How do we balance the need for innovation with the protection of individual rights? So, what's the takeaway here? The Industrial Revolution wasn't just a blip in history, it was a seismic shift that still affects us today. From steam engines to smartphones, from crowded factories to smart cities, the industrial revolutions have shaped every aspect of modern life. And as we continue to move forward, let's not forget the lessons of the past. That progress always comes with a price, and it's up to us to decide how we want to pay it. If you enjoyed this trip through history, hit that like button, subscribe for more mind-boggling content, and drop a comment below with your favorite Industrial Revolution invention. Until next time, keep questioning, keep exploring, and remember, history is not just a thing of the past, it's what makes our present possible.